of Trustees. It is Tuesday, January 4th, 2020. Or 2022. 2020.
2022. There you go.
Okay, could we all stand for the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oops. Okay, thank you. Could you please have the record show that Treasurer Carcone will not be in tonight, and Trustee O'Neill is planning on being here, but he's running very late.
Okay.
Other than that, we are all present. Okay, we're going to move on to the approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I'll support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll move on to the approval of the agenda. I have nothing to add or delete. Anyone else?
Motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
I'll support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on. Announcements and communications. Anyone have anything they'd like to talk about? Okay. All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to call to the public. This is when anyone can come up to the microphone and talk about non-agenda related issues. Please state your name and address for the record. 3 minutes, please. Okay, seeing no one coming up, we're going to move on to reports. And we've got Mrs. Amy Allen on her first report for the DDA.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Amy.
Hey, Amy.
Nice to be back. I just wanted to give you a quick update on the Lighting Up the Grand event that was held over the weekend on December 17th. It was rescheduled due to high winds, so the event actually took place on a Friday evening, just in a 2-hour window. I presented a report in your board packets that gives you a little more information, so I won't go through everything in detail. But some of the things that we're really excited about, we had approximately 250 people show up to the event, and being rescheduled, only the second time this event has run. We were really happy about that. The kids were interacting with Santa. We had reindeer out, mascots, carolers. We did the tree lighting around the tree. Everything went really well. We had over 29 sponsors involved, raised over $4,000, and in total, approximately over 200 hours of volunteer man hours so far. And we are looking to start taking down the event for this year. We were out there today doing some of the work, and we're going to be finishing up this Saturday. So any volunteers that want to come down and help out will be meeting at the Methodist Church there, United Methodist, at 10 o'clock on Saturday to complete the tear down for the event. But we're really looking forward to next year when we're able to expand our footprint a little bit, possibly shut down the street and incorporate some more activities. But with the success of it, we really think that it's going to be something big next year too. So we're looking forward to it.
Great. Nice.
Yeah, that did turn out really, really nice. There was a lot of volunteers who worked very hard on that. And we do have Tina with us tonight, isn't it? That's great. Hey, Tina.
I'm in town to train.
Very nice. All right, we're going to move on to fire. We have Assistant Chief Madeline.
Hello, good evening.
How are you?
I've just got a quick report here this evening. Just to let you guys know, we ended the year pretty uneventful, just the way we like it. For 2021, we had 1,656 calls in total. That was up 202 calls from last year. We had 1,454 in 2020. The chief and I were able to get down to Sutphin a couple weeks ago and got eyes on that ladder truck. It is a beautiful truck. I don't know if you guys had a chance to get on our Facebook page, but we did have some pictures and video uploaded on the Facebook page for the fire department of the truck, and I believe it'll serve us well. Still looking at a July delivery date here once they are done with the demo. Engine 2, we're moving along with getting that built. We are scheduled to go down next week to do our pre-build conference on that apparatus, so that will be finalizing a lot of the details and stuff for that truck. We did reach a tentative agreement with the union at the fire department. We're hoping, actually I'm not hoping, we will have it for the February board meeting for your guys' approval. And we have interviews scheduled on 18th of this month to get the 4 full-timers interviewed and hopefully bring them to you guys in February for a pinning ceremony to get those 4 full-timers on board. That's all I've got for you guys this evening. Any questions?
Well, it sounds like pretty great stuff going on.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
John, I wanted
Go ahead.
to comment on the, don't worry, Reggie, you can keep on going. I just wanted to thank the fire department for inviting us to their Christmas party, and it was a very nice event, and I'm going to give a shout out to Emma. Now she'll have to buy donuts for the rest of the crew, but Emma did a fantastic job in organizing everything, and the decorations were beautiful and definitely a fine time. So I appreciated the invitation of the board members for that.
Yes, thank you.
I guess my invitation was lost in the mail.
All right.
Shirley, you can be my +1.
Very nice, please. Thank you. We're going to move on. Lieutenant Whitfield.
Present. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Still working on the final numbers for the year, but we're having around 12,000 calls for service. I plan on having the try-on report all set for the next meeting. I did want to pass along some ice safety tips for those interested in doing a little recreation out on the ice. The Sheriff's Office Marine Division, we do have some tips to help keep you safe. Tip number 1, there's no ice that is 100% safe. So I want to write that down, it's important. And if you're planning on fishing or skating or foot traffic, the ice needs to be at least 5 inches thick. If you're planning on using a snowmobile or RV on the ice, it needs to be 8 inches thick. And they recommend that you dress in layers and consider adding a personal flotation device as part of your overall gear to keep you safe should you fall through the ice. And they also suggest that you take a partner with you and leave some travel plans just in case we need to send a search party out for you. And lastly, when in doubt, don't go out. All right? Now, this is a really all-inclusive list, and I'm going to share some information on how you can find it. These classes are open to the public, so if you'd like to take a class in boating, RV, snowmobile, hunting safety, or anything to do with ice safety or outdoor recreation, please call 240-10256 or visit oaklandsheriff.com. That's it. Any questions for me? All right.
Great, Lieutenant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Spec Industrial Building on Research Drive, and then they also recommended amendments to the zoning ordinance, which we'll be considering later on the agenda. Other than that, that's all they did.
Thank you, Brian. Moving on to the ZBA. Lisa, anything there?
We did not have a meeting in December, but we do have one in January, and this one deals with a variance request for a larger sign.
Sounds like we've got to fix that sign ordinance. Seems like you got a lot of signs.
We have had quite a few signs, and just as a reminder, this month's meeting is Tuesday, January 18th, not on a Monday.
Okay. Park Advisory Board?
So unfortunately, I have to report that we received the resignation from one of our members, Lynn Turek Reynolds. As a result, we've dipped below our quorum numbers, so the January meeting will not be happening, and I think in the next month or two I'd like to throw an item on our agenda just to kind of discuss the future of that, since we've not been able to fill those vacancies.
Well, sounds like the thing to do for sure. Okay. Moving on to the water. Well, I've got some good news and some bad news. 2 valves have been back ordered on the softening plant, and it looks like they're months out. The good news is all the tanks and all the piping has come. They're going to work on it for the next probably month to the point where they're to the valve structure where they need the 2 valves to finish. Then we're going to be in a little holding pattern for a little bit. But other than that, it is moving well. And we've got a lot of the tanks in place. There's, it's really looking good. And if anybody'd like to go over and look at it, I'd be willing to take anyone that wants to go over and look at the progress of the softening part of the plant, because it is coming together. And it's looking pretty cool. And there's a lot of large tanks out there. I don't know how they're going to get them in the building, actually, but they're huge. But any questions about the water? Everything in the water's been running absolutely perfect. It's the best water in the country. I'm proud of that. All right, then that'll conclude our reports, unless you want to give a report, Dave?
Things have slowed down a little bit, but it usually does this time of year. But there's a lot of developments that are getting ready to open up, and I'm sure it's going to take off as long as the interest rates stay down there. And we're still keeping very busy with the commercial as well as residential.
You guys stay real busy, that's for sure. Okay, that'll conclude our reports. We're going to move on to unfinished business, which is a text amendment that I don't believe it was for the RVs. Has anything changed on that from last meeting?
We just had a minor change to some of the terminology in the ownership section of this ordinance, just to clarify that RVs that are permitted to be stored on residential property have to be owned and titled by the either owner or permanent resident of that property. So other than that clarification, no substantive changes from what you saw at your first reading.
Okay. Any questions for Brian about that change? Change makes sense to me, so.
Thank you, Brian.
Is everybody good with that? That a motion would be in order?
I'll move to adopt, I'll move the adoption of ordinance 01-22.
I'll support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're going to move on to new business. A, construction for approval to Southline Junior League request to make enhancements of the baseball field dugouts at Atchison Park. And I know Chris is here tonight, and I don't know if there's any questions you guys want to start with, or just have him come up and explain what he wants to do. I think that's probably the best. Just your name and address for the record, Chris.
Yeah, hi, I'm Chris Mandy, 10540 Boulder Crest, Southline, actually. But as part of the Southline Junior League, we encompass the whole Lyon Township, Southline community. So, the reason we're here is we're asking for permission to do some improvements to the Atchison ballpark fields. The partnership that we've had over the years with the township has been phenomenal. We talked to everybody in the township about what we need to do to help keep them maintained and going. We've worked really well with the township about opening up field availability where we could, things like that where we're not using them, working well with the township administrators doing that. We've done a lot since building the new parks, including the splitting of the cost pretty much. I think it was like 65-40 or 60-40, 65-35, 55-45, something like that. I don't remember the exact dollar amounts. But we did split the costs on helping build those, and we've also done a lot of the maintenance on those fields since they've been constructed. So the reason we're here today is since the construction of the fields, we've been looking for dugout covers to cover the dugouts, A, for erosion factor 1. The water that hits those during the day really digs a valley in there, and then the water is retained on the field. So we're hoping to cover the dugouts to help stop some of that. In addition to that, for the players playing on hot days, those covers will also help for them for that. And we're also looking for some screening to go on the outside of the dugouts, much like we do in the outfield fences. The reason we're looking for a lot of this, and we came to the township for it, was we're trying to make those parks a little more attractive, add some beauty to them and aesthetics, and also the functionality of it. This is, again, something that's 5 years probably ongoing that we've been looking for it. Originally, they were looking for metal covers. Then we were looking for a permanent pole structure, and the costs were really outrageous, $30,000, $40,000 to construct them. Over the last year, we've been looking for alternative covers, and what we realized, those dugouts are only about 8 feet wide. So we're looking to add a tarp that really doesn't even need a support structure, that would be a permanent but temporary structure. So what would happen is when we open the fields up in the spring, our maintenance people come out and help, put everything together. We would then add those dugout covers, zip tie them in, and then in the fall, when we take everything down, those would get pulled back down and put back into storage. We've done some research on the materials that would be needed. We've actually found a 22-ounce weather-treated vinyl tarp cover, I guess is the best way to call it. Weatherproof, the whole 9 yards, UV proof. And then the screens on the outside would be mesh screens, much like we have in the outfield fencing, still breathable, but when the players are in there, if there is rain coming in, it'll also protect some of the rain from hitting them, soaking their gear, soaking the bags, things like that. So I'm here today to ask for permission. We honestly weren't sure if we needed permission, and then we did a little more digging, and we thought that was the right thing to do too, because just throwing something up without permission is not the way we like to operate as a league. So we've worked through Melanie and then back through John's office that come here and present tonight, answer questions, see what needs to be done, if we can do it, if there's modifications you guys want, if there's questions you need to be asked and answered. I'm here to be at your mercy right now.
Okay, well, I appreciate that, actually, that you came in tonight to offer this up. Being that they're temporary, basically, you're putting them up and taking them down, it doesn't really appear to be that big of a deal. I think it would be much more of a deal if there was a permanent structure that you were putting $40,000 in. It would kind of lock these fields up for many, many years to come. I don't see this. I think this is really kind of a plus for you guys, and I would be all for it. But
and I would agree, John, the cost factor came into it. We looked at it as, if these only last 4 or 5 years, we can replace them at this minimal cost and keep them always looking good, where you put $20,000 to $40,000 in the covers, and in 5 years they don't look good, then what happens to them? So if in 3 or 4 years you guys don't like them too, we can come back to the board and ask us to look for something different, Yeah.
And to protect the kids too, I think it's a pretty good deal. Does anybody have any questions? Is anyone against him doing this?
No, my only question, I think Robert kind of actually answered it. I was just curious if this was something that went through the Parks and Rec board, or it sounds like they haven't met, so
Right.
So that kind of answered the question. But no, it seems all good on my end, so.
And I'm just telling you the way I believe it. I think it's the township that threw most of all the cash into the thing, so I think it really would have to come through this board.
I meant as a suggestion to,
Okay.
or is it, if it was something that was keyed in just by the junior league, or was it that board as well?
So I don't even think he needs a motion, does he? Does he need a motion to go ahead to approve this?
I mean, since it's on the agenda, I would go
Okay.
ahead and do it.
Somebody want to make a motion to let him go forward?
Do we have a cost associated with
he's got it on here.
The cost back to the township is zero.
They're paying-
We're going to cover the whole cost.
Okay.
A lot of the times with the work with the communities, we look for a split. This is something that it's a minimal cost in the big picture of things. We're able to cover that out of our field maintenance funds that we're doing. And to be honest with you, we may be back looking to help do some more improvements to it. That might be a bigger cost. So any small costs we can absorb as the junior league to help make them better, we're going to try and take that on our own. That way, any funds that the township may be able to get or use grants to get or anything, we can use for something bigger and better. These small costs, we would love to absorb them and just improve the park.
Yeah, I think it's...
So, I don't know, do you want to try, Chris? Do you want me to try it?
Sure. I make a motion to approve the Southline Junior League's request to make enhancements to the baseball field dugouts at Atchison Park as presented in the information in our packet.
Support.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Okay, on to the salary resolutions for the Township Board.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-01, supervisor salary.
I'll support.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're going to move on to, what's the next one here?
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-02, establishing the clerk's salary.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Moving on, treasurer.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-03, treasurer's salary.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion for the trustee salaries.
I'll make a motion to approve the Resolution 2022-04, Township trustee salaries.
I'll support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Move on. Consideration adopting amended utility fee schedule. Does everyone understand this schedule? Any questions about this? It's fairly simple.
I guess, John, the only thing that really changed is the RDUs. It's based on
It's based
contractual
on
obligations.
CIP. Is it CIP or CPI?
Oh,
CPI.
There you go. Okay, based on that. This is something that we have to do. We have to do it in January, and it's by contract. So basically, this is what it ends up being.
So I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-05.
I'll support.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on to consideration of approval of the Fourth Amendment to the Second Amendment Sewage Disposal Facility Agreement with Line Wastewater to adopt the July 1st, 2018 Oakland County Water Resource Commissioner's Schedule of Unit Assignment Factors for RUs. Does everyone know what this is? Does everyone understand what we're doing here?
We're adopting.
Okay. I just want to make sure. This is the Oakland County's recommendation for RU cost. Okay.
And this is something we've been in discussion with Line Wastewater for several years about this since the schedule was adopted, so
Yeah.
we're finally getting there.
This is a good thing, by the way.
Yes, it's a good thing.
Okay.
this is just typographical. Sorry, I didn't notice it earlier, but in recital E, it says PF REUs instead of REUs.
Oh, yep. Number above.
Yep. And then, I'm not sure if it matters, but in G, it says residential unit equivalencies REUs instead of residential equivalent units.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We'll make them corrections.
And then the first sentence, too, should be Fourth Amendment. And the parentheses.
Oh, yeah, good.
Oh, third. Okay. There's a lot of amendments here.
With all those in mind, I'll make a motion for approval of the Fourth Amendment to the Second Amended Sewage Disposal Facility Agreement with Line Wastewater.
Support.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're going to move on. Consideration Ordinance 2-22 to amend the Line Code of Ordinances, Chapter 46 Utilities, Water and Sewage Division, Supplemental Sewage and Wastewater Disposal Standards and Regulations, Sections 46338, connection fees to provide penalties and violations thereof. Anyone have any questions about this one?
Make a motion to adopt, or I guess this would be moved to...
First reading.
Yeah, move to second reading the ordinance number 02-22.
I'll support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, we're going to move on. Consideration to amend the Lyon Code of Ordinance, Chapter 18, Environment, Article 2, Nuisance, Section 1840, Abatement, notice to designate the reasonable person for ordinance abatement and to provide penalties and violations thereof. Does everyone know what we're doing here? You all good with it?
I think we're stripping you of your power. Is that what it
That's
sounds
a
like?
good
It's pretty
thing.
much what it
This
is.
is a good thing.
This
We're
was
gonna
something
get
we
to over there.
actually discussed in admin, you know, who is actually doing these things, and we thought it would be wise to make the ordinance consistent with what our policy is.
Yeah. This is a good thing. Anyone?
I'll move ordinance number 03-22 to second reading.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consideration to amend the Lyon Code of Ordinances, violations and penalties, authority to pursue court action, to conform to existing law, administrative organization, overview to designate zoning administrator as enforcement officer, zoning enforcement officials, building official, township planner, and other enforcement officials to set their respective duties. Set forth their respective duties.
This one I actually do have a couple questions.
Go ahead.
One being, I guess, why are we removing the building official from the list of people referenced?
Where?
I don't see that.
For
removed.
enforcement, the zoning administrator's been doing the enforcement and not the building official.
Okay, so whereas the building official does in the course of normal things, the zoning administrator would be the one coming in the case of a complaint?
Correct.
Okay. And then the second question being why we're removing the any person aggrieved or adversely affected by such noncompliance or violation may institute suit or join the township
Because that's
board.
not legally correct.
Okay. All right, so cleaning up and updating. Gotcha.
Good questions. Anyone else? Okay, motion to be in order to move this to second reading if everyone agrees.
It's Lisa's turn.
Make
It
a
says
motion.
Lisa's turn.
Lisa's turn.
I'm still scanning a couple of things.
I'll make a motion to move ordinance 04-22 to second reading.
I'll support.
Any more discussion?
You okay with this?
Yeah, I just,
Okay.
All right.
I was looking at number 13 on something, and it was corrected in the red line.
Are you good?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're going to move on to the Lyon Township Wastewater Cost of Service Study presentation. And, do you want to take them into this one before? Or does you want to just let
Yeah, Vic.
Vic go for it?
I don't know who you've met on the board. You've met a few of the people, I believe. No, not yet. Okay. Yeah. Ariadne and I brought Vic in because we felt it was time that a really good sewer study be done for the township. In looking through the records, it hadn't been done for a while. And it's something that I'd like to see us moving forward, doing on a regular basis. So Vic studied all the documents. He's here today to present to you what his findings are with respect to the rates that we're charging.
What kind of frequency is typically?
Well, a lot of communities look at it every year. Now, this was a much more extensive study because it hadn't been done for a while, and Vic went back years and years and had to pour through volumes of documents. Moving forward, you would just be looking at, you'd be updating it, so it'd be much easier.
So on a yearly basis is
Yeah,
what's
that
recommended?
would be my recommendation.
Okay.
Presentation? Yeah, presentation.
All right, there you go.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hi, everyone.
How you doing?
For those of you who don't know me, which most of you, my name is Vic Cooper-Wasser, and I'm an engineer with Tetra Tech, which is about the fourth or fifth largest engineering company in the United States. and I'm based out of Ann Arbor, and been doing studies like this for over 30 years. And what I'd like to do is present an executive summary of the results of the study. Here we go. Okay, so the agenda is talking about rates and connection fees, what cost of service rate study is, what the data projections are that we use, what the current quarterly rate is, recommended quarterly rate, and calculation of connection fee, that is to say a maximum defendable fee, and the projected fee maximum for the next 5 years, annual review recommendation, and the Oakland County schedule of unit assignment factors. So rates and connection fees. The rates are the quarterly charge per RU. RU is the residential equivalent unit, and those are charged quarterly. The connection fees, however, are a one-time fee for new users to buy into their share of the value of the existing system. And rates and connection fees should be calculated using a method that they are proportional to the necessary cost of the service that's being provided. So we had a 5-year study period from FY 2021 to FY 2025, and the revenue required consists of several components: operation and maintenance, contributions to equipment replacement fund, capital outlays that are not debt financed, and debt service. Those are the 4 general components that make up the revenue that needs to be generated each year by the rates. And then we estimate the RUs per year for the study period, and they then calculate the quarterly rate per RU, and then separately calculate the connection fees on a maximum basis. So the data projections, based on information provided by the township, we used a growth factor of 120 RUs per year. And then we looked at inflation line by line in the expense line items. And the inflation numbers that we used ranged up to 5% a year, depending on the specific expense. For the 5-year capital expenses, not debt financed, was $5 million. The amount to be funded through bonds was $14.5 million. So the total capital expenditures projected over the next 5 years was $19.5 million, based on the current capital improvement program. The current quarterly rate is $115.78 per REU, and that rate generates approximately $2.2 million a year. Based on our calculations, we determined, first of all, that $115 rate has been kept constant since 2013. And we've determined that over the next 5 years, there's no need to change that, that $115.78 is acceptable. Now, looking at the one-time connection fee for new users, and this is a maximum calculation. The purpose of this fee is to promote the equity between a new customer coming into the system and existing customers. And the way we look at this, we look at the original cost of the assets. And then we take those original costs and calculate a replacement value. Basically what those assets might be worth today. And then we divide this result by the capacity of the system expressed in REUs. The other thing we do is that results in a number, but because there is outstanding bonds that are paid, and a portion of that expense is paid through the quarterly rates, we apply a credit. We basically reduce that connection fee because there's going to be outstanding principal. That is to say, the principal on outstanding bonds is going to be paid by a portion of that current quarterly rate. So we take that into account to make sure that when you set that fee, you're not what we call double dipping the new customer. The current Lyon Township connection fee is $3,665 per RU, and that's been the same since 2018. Based on our analysis, and this is based on the projected 5-year $19.5 million in capital expenses, we determined that it could be justified to charge as much as, that is to say on a maximum basis, the amounts that you see there increasing from today, FY 2021, essentially $5,777 up to over $11,000 in FY 2025. Again, this assumes that the $19.5 million projected in capital expenses, in fact, are built, and those expenses are there. And that's one of the reasons why, it's recommended that you re-examine this every year to just make sure things are tracking the way you've projected. And it's mentioned an annual review recommendation, and that both the rates and the connection fees be reviewed based on the latest expense and user projections. Now, as far as the Oakland County schedule of unit assignment factors, the rate per RU and the connection fee per RU that we just presented here is basically for a single-family home. So the question is, someone connects or someone is built on a quarterly basis, it's not a single-family home, bowling alley or a bar or whatever. So to come up with the quarterly bill and the connection fee for those that are not single-family homes, the township has based those on the 1998 Oakland County schedule of unit assignment factors. And I think, as was mentioned earlier, that schedule has been revised through a detailed study that was done by Oakland County, and they revised their recommendations effective July 1, 2018. And it's our opinion that it's perfectly reasonable for the township to adopt the revised Oakland County schedule of unit assignment factors. And that's basically the study, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
So Vic, if we could go back a couple slides. So everyone understands, the one that has the rates right there, no, the RU.
Connection.
Yeah.
Connection.
Right there. No.
The connection.
No,
The connection fee? This one?
Yes.
This one? This one?
Okay. So the township, I think the point of this study too is the township is currently charging $36.65. But based upon an analysis of the operation of the system, we actually could have charged last year $57.77. And that would have been justified and reasonable. So in fact, one of the things that this study shows, as I'm reading it, is the township actually charges its residents less than it could to operate this system. Is that correct?
For new customers connecting to the system,
Yes.
that is correct.
Okay.
This is just our portion of...
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other's a pass-through, it's a contractual
Right.
obligation, but with, I think it shows we're very, very reasonable in what we've been charging, in comparison to what we could be and justify it.
Does the Lyon Wastewater agreement allow us to independently adjust the township portion?
Yes.
Or- Okay.
The recommendation was to have this done, analyze this every year, correct? Or at least revisit it.
Yeah, not necessarily changed, but what we recommend to our clients is that as part of the budgeting process, to just take a look at the rates, especially in your case here where you have a significant projection of capital expenses in the next 5 years. And so it's very important to track those as the years go by to see if, in fact, those projects are being built at these projected expenses. Because if they're not, you really can't argue for going this high. You have to, if some projects aren't built, then these numbers would go down.
Right, and we will kind of look at that as we do our annual update to the capital improvements plan and stuff, and that kind of goes hand in hand.
So I have two questions then with that. Who would do that annual evaluation? Would it be your company, or would that be Leslie? Would that be?
We, as part of the study, we prepared an Excel spreadsheet. So, for example, we work with many communities where we do the same thing. And depending on the staff available and their familiarity with the spreadsheet and their comfort level with it, the way we do it, it's not a black box approach. It is very specific, very well connected, logical. So someone with Excel experience, working with the Treasurer's Department, plugging in the new numbers, could plug it in and update it themselves. Perfect examples would be, for example, Saline, Petoskey. I don't know, I could rattle off 10, 15 places that have taken the spreadsheet that we provide and just, they're comfortable in updating it every year. And if you want to have it updated by us or somebody else, then that's your decision.
John, do we know what we would want to do, or have you do that? Add one more thing to your plate, or would that be?
We'll let Vic do it.
Okay.
My question is, now we're taking the connection fees are to build new infrastructure, right? It's based to build new infrastructure.
It's based on two things. It's based on the value of the existing infrastructure, which changes every year, plus the value of the proposed infrastructure. So it's basically two components.
Okay. Well, and the reason I'm asking that is because we can inflate the numbers of the connection fees, but we're staying pretty stagnant on the rate fee. So the rate fees, are we too high on them? I mean, we're not adjusting them.
You mean the 115?
Yeah. I mean, we're not adjusting them for the next, we haven't raised them since, you said 13, and they're going to be the same until the next 5, 6, 7 years. So it sounds to me like maybe we're too high.
That's part of the annual review. As part of the annual review, you could look at that, and because part of that $115 or so is based on a certain amount of contribution to reserve funds. And if you determine that we don't have to contribute as much, then you can make the argument that the rates could be lowered.
But I think as a result of Vic's study, when he studied historically what had gone on, the amount we're charging is reasonable. The 115 is reasonable and justifiable. But it's again, one of these things you'd look at every year. Should we go up? Should we go down? What's the reality of the system? And we haven't looked at that in years and years. So this is a good thing to get started.
Well, but I think the biggest problem we have is we don't meter the sewage, so it's a one-time REU fee, and some people make out, some people lose, and yeah. I mean, how else could you do it?
One thing to consider, and it's a function of how many of your connections are metered. So, for example, in Northfield Township, it's a combination of metered customers and flat rate or REUs. So in their rate schedules, they have a charge per REU, but they also have a charge per 1,000 gallons for those customers that are metered. So they kind of separated it. I haven't investigated in your case whether that is a reasonable approach to take. Same thing looking at the water side. You might want to consider when you review the rates is looking at your water rates to see if they meet the reasonable test, and kind of look at both rates at the same time to then calculate a total, because looking at sewer and water separately doesn't give you the complete picture. But if, for example, all of your wastewater customers were metered, then you certainly could make the argument that it would be more accurate and there'd be more equity to bill customers based on their actual usage, rather than relying on a table.
Yeah. Well, I guess where I've always had a problem with the way we do it, and it's just me, but if you have 15 RUs, you may not be using 15 RUs worth of treatment.
Right.
Whereas if you have one RU, it doesn't sound so bad in a quarter to spend $115, but times 15 every quarter becomes kind of a mountain of money. So,
Which those affect your commercial property owners.
yeah.
Your example of the 15 commercial property owners, they could be 50 REUs based on the formula. So really,
And it's always
the
times
value
50
varies.
times 115 and times 3 months. I mean, but quarter. So, I mean, it mounts up.
Yeah.
And if you metered that, I'm probably thinking pretty high, that'd go down. But it's just me. The cost of treatment.
Right.
But
I have another question. So let's say we have, we're going along with the 3665 since 2018, and we could have been at 5777 for 2021, but we're not. We're still at 3665, and then we decide that we're going to do some big capital improvement in 2023. Is it conceivable then that a customer could go from 3665 to 8657 with no warning? Like, is it a recommendation to have a percentage cap?
Is it okay if I jump in?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the connection fee. So it wouldn't be an existing customer.
Brand new.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
But even though you just see the 86 number in 2023, there's still a 10,000 secondary that gets connected to that too. So it's a big number.
Right, but I mean, you could make that big of a jump in.
Well,
Yeah, for
you
new
could.
customers.
Right. Okay.
I think that's why reviewing them more often, more frequently is important as your CIP is updated, because this is, again, a result of your current CIP, which has a significant number of projects, and if those get delayed, then my assumption is those changes would also be delayed.
That's correct. Any delay in the proposed $19.5 million projects over the next 5 years, any delay would result in lower maximums.
So based on what I'm seeing is the connection fees are for infrastructure, the rate fees are to run the plant. Basically, I mean, that's kind of the...
Not quite. The $115 quarterly rate covers both operation maintenance, and there's some components in there that are related to capital. They're capital outlays and also for debt service. So the $115 covers a bit of both.
Okay.
So the connection fee is like, in a way, playing catch up to the fact that you haven't been contributing so far to the system? Is that maybe?
No, I wouldn't say catch up. It's, I mean, you have some communities that know they could charge a connection fee and deliberately choose not to because they want to encourage, growth. These are like maximum numbers that could be defended. And the actual amount that you charge really is the Township Board's decision. But what we're saying is we would never recommend that you go above these numbers because we don't believe that it'd be reasonable to go above these numbers.
So I guess that goes back to another question. You're saying these are the maximum numbers for the connection fees, but I think you just had our current quarterly fee up there. Do you calculate a maximum quarterly as well? And what's that number about?
What we calculated on that is that the current fee, there's no, in most communities, as you go through the next 5 years, the argument is presented that, based on the asset management plan and the rising expenses, that let's say you're charging $115 today, it's got to go up each year for the next 5 years. In your case, we feel that you can keep it 115, and really the thing that comes into play here is how much you contribute to the reserve funds out of that amount that's raised by the $115. That's really the thing that floats, and that the 115 is adequate. But again, if you review those, next time, if these projects are delayed, the argument could be made to reduce the 115. So your situation is atypical.
Okay.
Well, that's eye-opening, for sure. It's a great study, and I think we absolutely needed it. And you're saying that it would be wise to do a water study also? I mean, is that what you were thinking? I mean, for the rates on our water, we have very low rates.
Well, the question is, on the water rate study, it's the same thing as the wastewater rate study. What is the basis for the current water rates? Are they reasonable? Could someone, and I didn't look at the water rates, so I'm not familiar with where they are, but could somebody look at the water rates and say, wait a minute, what's your basis for charging these water rates? And also, how much is contributed to reserve funds from water rates and sewer rates? Are the funds intermingled, or do you keep them separate enterprise funds, which is the appropriate way to do it? It really gives a much clearer picture to look at water and sewer and look at the total rather than look at it piecemeal. It gives you a better view of funding.
Is there a way that you could put a proposal together for a water study for the board to look at?
Certainly.
I mean, is there something that you could propose to us?
Certainly.
Okay. Everybody on for that, to get an idea where our water rates are?
Can't help to look at a proposal.
Sure.
That's what I mean, for a proposal.
I guess I would be curious if anybody knows on the water rates whether there has been a water rate study done in the past. And where did the current water rates come from? What are they based on?
We're from Oakland County. We just took over our own water.
Yeah, but I think at one time Beauchamp, did he do a water rate study, or was that?
Oh, I think the water was included in the sewer in that one study.
If it was
But that's old.
like 2012 maybe?
Yeah,
it's
no, it's
old.
old.
And I do believe Michelle's correct that they county, when they maintain and operate the system, that they established the rates, and when the township took over, the rates remained the same. So it has.
Yeah, we haven't changed
I believe
the
it's
water
been
rates at all since we took over from the county.
Right.
Yeah, and I do think that we probably need something because we're guessing at some of that stuff, right? I mean, we've never had one, so this is nice because you can actually look at it and understand it, and that would be nice.
And we do have, Vic has issued 2 full reports on it too, that we have.
I believe they're in the packet also, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we can get together. I don't know what you'd need to put together a proposal that we could bring back.
What I would do is gather some information from your staff, basically what the current rates are, what information you've got, what issues are there, if any. Normally what happens is when a community has their water rates or sewer rates, I can pretty much tell at a glance, looking at those rates, whether there's something that you should consider in terms of changing, in terms of the structure. Not the actual numbers, but the structure. So for example, I don't know, in the case of water rates, do you charge per 1,000 gallons? Is there a minimum? That sort of thing. There are factors that we can look at right off the bat and say, hey, we don't think you should be doing this, we think you should be doing that.
That would be helpful. I mean, we just rebuilt our entire system, so it'd be nice to know.
And I can give you that information offline, and then
And
number of customers.
The water rate study would be not just the rates themselves, but also the new user connection fees for water. We would want to look at that at the same time to give you, again, the big picture.
I think that'd be great, but that's just me.
I agree.
I've been knee-deep in water.
And another thing that we can offer, and it's not a big deal to do it, obviously, is to include a comparison to communities that you want to include. We don't think that's necessarily something that can be argued to say, okay, we should have our rates this because these communities are doing that. Every community is unique. So what it costs for you to treat wastewater here or to produce clean water here, the situation is completely different in Ann Arbor or in Capac or in Sault Ste. Marie. Likewise, for example, stormwater. Do you have a stormwater system? How are those stormwater costs covered? There aren't any. Okay, so that's not an issue. So you don't have to worry about stormwater. Okay.
But we get the best water around.
Don't worry about it, but.
Yeah, right.
All right. Any other questions?
No.
Okay.
Well, it's been a great pleasure working with you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for that
doing
great
it.
Thank you.
presentation. Really appreciate it. Okay, I think we've reached the end of the agenda. Does anybody like to add anything before we close up? Okay, then I consider this meeting adjourned.